Hi, I'm Flor Castillo, and this is Tell It Like It Is. For the last 7 years, Syria has been engaged in an ongoing civil war with different groups trying to seize control over the country, disagreeing on the ruling and power of the current Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad. This conflict has created the worst humanitarian crisis in our time, leaving more than 11 million people dead or having to flee their homes due to the lack of resources and the fear it brings to citizens. Since then, the Episcopal Diocese of Western Massachusetts has decided to sponsor an interfaith fundraiser to aid children in war-torn Syria. I spoke to Steve Abdow to find out what compelled the church to aid Syrian refugees.
Back a couple years ago, we first started really highlighting this and reaching out to congregations to see if they wanted to learn about ways to support Syrian refugees. The problem with the refugees process right now is that it's been greatly reduced. So in the whole country, there's a limit of like 45,000 refugees coming in. Many of our churches have also helped fundraise for New Day Syria, which is a group out of Nashua, New Hampshire, who has been able to get donated items into the country. And we partnered with the Lutheran entity. They were putting like 20, 30 refugee families, placing them in communities. We really think that the message of welcoming the stranger is a core teaching of Jesus. It is so vulnerable, and we feel it's our responsibility to try and help them if we can.
This humanitarian crisis has prompted faith-based organizations across the country and in our own town of Northampton, such as the Valley Syrian Relief Committee, to take action trying to help end the war and create a viable and democratic future for Syria, as well as address the needs of the civilians affected by the crisis. To discuss how the organization has been helping Syrian refugees in our own city, I spoke to Deborah Shriver, a volunteer in the organization.
The Valley Syrian Relief Committee has done a number of things. We've been working to raise funds. Initially, we made a lot of presentations about what was going on in Syria in 2010, when a great many Middle Eastern countries attempted to throw off long-term dictatorships. Something similar took place in 2011 in Syria, when peaceful protests advocating for governmental reforms were met by guns, tanks, by the dictatorship of Bashar al-Assad. And that led, of course, to militant groups such as ISIS, Al-Qaeda. It also led to the formation of groups like the Free Syrian Army, which was made up principally of defectors. So the militant groups were making great strides in actually gaining territory against Assad. Assad was in danger of actually losing this war. Russia has long been an ally. They came into the conflict in September of 2015 and began to use their air power to prop up the Assad regime. The regime has now reclaimed a great deal of the territory it had once lost. Right now, it is the humanitarian crisis that is most horrific, because hospitals and schools are being bombed. People need medical supplies, they need school materials, they need clothing, all those kinds of things. But moreover, we need advocacy. We need people to stand up and speak to our congressmen, to put pressure on the Trump administration to take action.
The Valley Syrian Relief Committee is committed to continue advocating on behalf of the people of Syria and all those affected by the war. And it will be holding a service on Sunday, April 8th at First Churches in Northampton to commemorate the 7th anniversary of the start of the war. I'm Flor Castillo, and this was Tell It Like It Is.